Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Bent TV. And this is another episode of Bent. I fucked up.
Cut.
Oh, can't we leave that in?
Can you take whatever's on her shoulder off?
Yes. It's
Oh,
a
thanks for
little
that.
smidge.
Oh, thanks, Jodie.
Disaster.
Looks very prominent and black.
Okay, tape is still rolling.
Okay, beautiful. Count me in. I never fuck up.
Hang
I
on.
fuck up. Sometimes I fuck up.
You like that? No good? Oh. Nah.
Oh, you can just see us through there. Can you see us?
Oh, I'm not going to.
Alrighty.
Thank you very
Right,
much.
sorry
Okay,
about that.
tape's still rolling. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. It's perfect.
Right, so that tape was still rolling.
We're
Yes,
counting.
tape's rolling.
We're counting in 5, 4, 3.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Bent TV. And this is our show, Alphabet Soup, coming to you from, of course, the Channel 31 studios on a glorious evening in Melbourne. Tonight we have another fabulous lineup of guests for you, and I'll introduce them, starting from you, Mr. David Menadue, the Vice President of the VAC. How are you this evening?
Oh, very good, thanks, Lindsay.
That's good. Jodie Willmer, who is the rose between two thorns there. Jodie, how are you?
I'm very well.
Jodie is the Chief Executive Officer of Travellers Aid Australia. You well this evening?
I am, thanks for the
That's good.
opportunity.
And thanks for coming in. And of course, on our last seat, we have the fabulous Micah, who is the project, and of course, general badass in the community. Micah, who is the project manager of Minus 18. How are we all?
I'm brilliant. Thank you very much.
And thank you all for coming on. David, I think we'll start with you this evening, because
All right.
you're closest to me, and I'll give you a gentle prod every now and again.
Grill me. Grill me, baby.
I'll grill you, David. Now, you're the Vice President of the VAC.
Yes.
How long have you held that position?
Well, only 2 years, but I've basically been involved with the AIDS Council since probably 1990, I think. So
That's
I've
a long
been,
time.
I've had breaks in and out, but I'm a person with HIV, so I've got a vested interest in trying to make sure the community response is reasonably strong and that we engage government and get funds for the things we need.
Absolutely. And we had Tex on a couple of weeks ago, and he was talking about that visibility. Like when you're working in the community, visibility is so important.
It is, and I mean, it's taken some time over the years to get positive people to actually come out and be visible and, try and decrease some of the stigma of being HIV positive, and that's part of the issue. I think now that we have really good treatments for HIV, some people may have gone back into the closet and are not talking about HIV so much, and that raises difficulties for people to disclose their status, and that of course has implications for transmission of HIV. So you're right, transmissions, that sort of ability to be out about your status is very important.
Absolutely. And do you find, David, that HIV unfortunately has been with us for 30 years, 40 years? Is it 30
Just
years?
had its 30th.
30th,
yeah.
Shocking. A shocking birthday. But are you finding that it's getting, can I use the term, easier for people to be visible as HIV positive? Are they tending to not be tested? There's drugs like PEP out there in the market now. They're being just a little bit too blasé.
Look, I don't think blasé would be the way I'd look at it. I think most people who get newly diagnosed go through a reasonably difficult time. It's not, there's an uncertainty when you first find out, and a lot of people who are HIV negative, while they may have some positive friends, a lot of those positive friends won't talk a lot about it to them. They may talk to other positive people because they share it in common, but there's still a bit of silence about HIV. And when you say, has it become easier? People like me feel accepted in society, whereas in the 80s we went through all this stigma and, you didn't know who to tell, you didn't know whether to tell your boss, you didn't know whether to tell your family. Because, people got rejected. That doesn't happen now. And I actually try and tell people who are HIV positive, look, the worst thing that's going to happen is probably not going to happen. The worst thing you fear going to happen is not going to happen. So there's actually real advantages. About when people are thinking in their adolescence, as Micah can, about whether they should come out about their status, and I'm sure you'll agree, Micah, it's one of the best things you ever did because you feel that sense of self-esteem about, being a whole person. And for me, being HIV positive is part of who I am. I don't think it's an essential part of my identity or anything, but I do think it's not a secret I want to hide. And I feel the same way about coming out as a gay man, that I want that sort of memory of that period in my life where I hid the secret. I don't want to go through that again, about anything really.
Part of that healing process. But the thing about HIV that I've noticed, and I didn't know this, David, is that it's bad enough the stigma in our community. But I was talking to someone, I don't know if I can't remember now if they're from the VAC or one of the other organisations, but they said that heterosexual people who are HIV positive are having a shocking time actually being open about their illness.
Absolutely worst time for them, because there's not an expectation in heterosexual relationships. For instance, if you're a positive woman and you disclose to a man, it's a real shock. They think, this is not on my radar. I wouldn't have ever suspected this. And we're finding more people from culturally and linguistically diverse backgrounds cold. And that, African countries or Asian countries, they come from cultures where there's a real stigma around that. In fact, not only if they come out about their status do they have to deal with it, their family has to deal with it. The family can be ostracised. So that's a really strong issue, and it's a great imperative, they think, for people to be quiet about their status. And so we're trying to get the message across in Australian society, you're not going to suffer that ostracism, or you shouldn't be, and your own community should be supportive, not isolating.
Absolutely. Micah, in your role as project manager and involved with Minus 18 issue, I've just very, very quickly, because we're running out of time in this first segment, the younger generation, how are they dealing with HIV status? Is it something that's is open, or?
Well, I've actually spoken to a lot of young people about that, in particular my friends. I'm 22, so I'm sort of much on the younger end of the spectrum, and HIV and sexual health kind of isn't at the forefront of discussion. And in the 80s and the 90s, perhaps particularly in the gay community, it was always talked about, and there was a lot of awareness. And now that awareness, particularly in younger generations, I feel has died down a little bit. And you're speaking about the stigma in older gay men in particular. It's not really quite there, and I think in younger generations it now is there again, because it's not talked about and it isn't particularly common, and we haven't gone through those generations where it is common and it is talked about, and it's a little bit unusual in that sense. The stigma then reappears.
Yeah, it's an incredible concept really, because I know I lost a complete network of friends in the 80s and 90s, and David, you would have lost an incredible amount of people too, and Jodie, of course, knowing gay people, and I think that young people need to be aware. That's the bottom line.
Absolutely.
With it. Mama's talking down there, young man.
Yes.
We're going to go to a break right now, so it's time to pop out, make yourself a nice gin and tonic or a cup of tea or something, and of course watch a little bit of our sponsors, and we'll be right back in just a few minutes. Welcome back to Alphabet Soup on Bent TV. This evening we're talking to David Menadue, Jodie Willmer and the fabulous and badass Micah from Minus 18. Now, the last time we met Jodie, we didn't get around to you and your work with Traveller's Aid. And I know when Traveller's Aid are on Swanson Street, I actually use the service too. It's a little more than just popping in for a shower when you need one during the day. Just tell us a little bit about what Traveller's Aid does, and especially with regards to gay travellers.
Well, Travellers Aid's a non-profit organisation that's actually been running for 95 years this year. So it's amazing rich history in Melbourne and Victoria and across Australia. So I think probably rather than focus at the moment about what we currently do, I just think it's fascinating to think about what we did in the very beginning. So Travellers Aid was formed by a band of women and women's organisations who came together to meet and greet women and children who were arriving in Melbourne at Station Pier, and they were fleeing war-torn Europe. So, you know, if you think back in Australia's social history, there were very few social services organisations. There were certainly faith-based groups and certainly not many government services. So it really came out of the origins of people helping other people. And I guess, you know, that has continued all through many eras of time. It's interesting, our services are pretty much still assisting people who are travellers in need. And when we talk about travellers, it's not just people who are backpackers or tourists. You know, even in Victoria, there's 50,000 people from rural and regional Victoria who travel to Melbourne for medical appointments.
Is that daily, weekly?
No, that's over annually.
Okay.
So vast numbers of people travel for a whole suite of different reasons. And even when homosexuality was criminalised in Victoria, Travellers Aid provided support to people as they were released from prison and helped them with travel and support getting back to places of support and families. So, and then we have a program for young people to help them get to school. You know, if you can't travel to school, it's really hard to actually attend. It's really hard to participate in excursions. It's hard to participate in the community. So, yeah.
I'm interested in what you were saying before about looking after gay people all those years ago. What do you know what actually went on? Like, did they sort of take gay people home for a cup of tea and a toast and a sleep on the sofa, or?
No. I throughout a period of time, Travellers Aid had a lodge, and that lodge originally was for women. And many women who were pregnant out of wedlock would come from regional areas to Melbourne to live and work at the lodge, and then they would give their baby up for adoption. At that point in time, if people weren't married, there was a lot of social stigmas. Then later on, the lodge was open to men, especially at the period of time in Melbourne where there are a lot of rooming houses that were closed down. A lot of men experienced homelessness, so over the years the services have changed. But I guess the core is people need to travel for a whole range of reasons, and Travellers Aid's there to support them.
Fantastic, because I know at one stage I was I needed to have a shower because my apartment wasn't finished, and I was popping into Travellers Aid, and I was amazed at the amount of people that were going in there. I think it was $3.50 or something for a shower, and you know, you actually got to know people. It's a fabulous service. Now, Mike, I'm going to go down to you because you're sort of like the Gen Y at the end of the line there.
No.
Now, Minus 18, it's a group that's being needed. What's your membership base?
Sure. Well, Minus 18 started 13 years ago this year as sort of like a safe environment for gay and lesbian young people. And it was actually started by parents.
Was it really?
Yeah, it was. And
Okay.
parents who, you know, saw that their underage children didn't really have a place to go because the gay scene used to be very predominantly overage, and it wasn't until you hit 18 or 19 that you came out because you just wouldn't think of doing it in high school. You know, but now 13 years later, we're running events which are hitting 550 underage gay and lesbian young people throughout Victoria, and you know, our website, we have roughly 70,000 young people access it every year, mostly from Victoria. And you just look at the fact that the organisation is completely youth driven. I'm 22 and I'm the oldest person on board in the actual organisation.
You poor old man.
I know. And so, you know, the fact that this is all done by young people and it's led by young people, I think is just so amazing.
Oh, there was no Minus 18, David, when we were coming out.
Certainly
We used to
wasn't.
have to sneak into Spangles or one of Jane Hillier's dances
Well, that's the
underage.
thing.
That's exactly how things have changed, Micah. So I noticed that quite often Minus 18 do have functions, you know, alcohol-free events, and I've seen some footage and they look like such bloody fun. I'm envious.
They're pretty cool.
They are really
If I do
cool.
a completely unbiased opinion.
Yeah, of course. Now, I have to ask, you're 22.
I am.
You're the old man of the group.
Yes.
When do you reach that age when they say, look, you're just too old to be a project manager, we're getting rid of you?
Look, it's there's no real official age, really. I suppose when I reach about 24, 25, and I approach the youth barrier at 25, that's when, you know, I start to move on. But I mean, it's a complicated question to really answer. It's just when you feel out of touch, and unfortunately, you know, I've only been out of high school 4 years, but you look at things like iPhones I didn't have in high school.
Oh God, we can remember before mobile phones.
We didn't even have the internet
Yeah.
when I first travelled.
But you're looking at how quickly times are changing, and there are issues like cyberbullying and cyber safety is so much more prevalent now. And while I did have those issues in high school, they're much more sort of talked about, and I'm only 4 years out of high school, I'm starting to be a little bit out of touch, and it's just changing so rapidly, and it's so great to have young people who are on board and who are in touch and still in high school or just recently left, who are speaking to other young people and connecting with them instantly. It's not like adults trying to connect with young people using the young people lingo and that sort of thing.
Oh God, here we go. The manners
No
down
offence,
the end
guys,
here.
no offence.
Yeah, yeah, but that is important, because what like for example, David and I would have lived through coming out as gay people, or you know, the scene and the community and things like that.
Very secretive.
Very,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Very
Absolutely.
secretive.
You know, even in 13 years of Minus, at the beginning, we were very secretive, and we wouldn't advertise to schools, and you know, to access our website, you had to sign up, and you couldn't just view it without being a member. Whereas now we're going into schools and we're providing resources for schools, and schools contacting us and going and speaking to assemblies, and you know, it's just only 13 years, and everything has completely changed. And it's sexuality and homophobia are hot topics, and it's nearly uncool to not be supportive now. That being said, you know, 70% of young gay and lesbian people are bullied in school. Still in 2011, and you know, those sort of statistics are just ridiculous. That shouldn't be happening in 2011. So, you know, the problems are still there, but attitudes are changing, and you know, we're able to take advantage of that.
Excellent. It's really good work. And if anybody out there that's watching, because I know there are gay people or young gay people that sneak into their bedroom and watch us, you know, when we're on, go to Minus 18 website. It's minus18.org.au.
Yes.
Have a look, and of course keep watching Beat TV in your bedroom, because we're really nice people. We'll be back after this wee little commercial break. Welcome back to Alphabet Soup on Bent TV, and tonight we're chatting with David Menadue, Jodie Willmer, and the badass Micah from Minus 18. Now guys, we've talked a little bit about yourselves and what you do and all the rest of it, and I think I'd really like to put everybody under the grill and ask you a series of questions that I would like you to answer as honestly as you possibly can. Okay? Are you ready?
Yeah.
Now, if what dead celebrity would you bring back to life?
Freddie Mercury.
Freddie Mercury, why so?
Oh, well, he's the ultimate camp.
Do you know who Freddie Mercury is,
Oh,
Micah?
yes, dude.
Is he a singer?
Yeah.
Good, good.
Well done, good,
From
good,
an
good.
aptly named band called Queen.
Okay,
Yeah.
great.
He's Bohemian
Sometimes
Rhapsody.
we need to translate.
Yeah, I know. But Jesus, Freddie Mercury was... I'm amazed that you know, it's not part of the culture still. He is for some people. Like
Yeah.
me.
Jodie, who would you
for
bring
me,
back to life?
Actually, it's a recent passing of Amy Winehouse.
Really?
I actually didn't really get to listen to a lot of her music until she passed away, and I think what an amazing young woman with amazing confidence and you know, outspoken attitudes on things, and I would have loved the opportunity to get to know her, and I'd like to bring her back. She was an amazing woman.
Because I saw on Facebook, and it was really terrible, but I have to share it. She was only dead 24 hours, and somebody posted, "Congratulations, Amy, you've been sober for 24 hours," which was just terrible. But it's been updated. Like somebody actually posted not so long back, you know, "Congratulations, you've been sober for a month," the poor love. But she was a huge talent. Now, Micah, who
Look,
would you like?
I do have to agree, and I'm thinking, you know, in my 22 years, not many celebrities have died. Look, I do agree, Amy Winehouse,
Amy
and
Winehouse.
I think it's really unfortunate because, you know, when you have someone like that who has those demons, I suppose, of alcoholism and history of drugs, and then to die at a young age, it was really easy for everyone to kind of make jokes about it. And, you know, I think that kind of highlighted the impact that she had, just how many people were actually speaking about her death.
Oh, absolutely. And that's one of the things that humour does, you know, it does, you know, help the process, but it helps us sort of get over it, I think. But then again, it's always, I always find them funny, I can't help it. All right, now, if you were to get any ink done, ink is tattoos, what would you have on what part of the body, Micah?
I actually have a real phobia of tattoos.
Oh, no!
I do. I get buyer's remorse, like, really easily. I'll buy a t-shirt and then regret it. I'm like, oh, I can't believe I bought that. Or I'll buy something online and then the week that it arrives, I regret buying it. And so clearly a tattoo isn't for me. But my friend did
It's a permanency.
Yeah, I do think the sort of the novelty ones which make people laugh, I think, are great. Like getting a mustache on your fingers so you can hold it up instead of that. Or I think Linzi Lohan has one that says shh, so when she goes like that, it's written on her finger. So I'm sure like a little one, which is funny, so that, you know, not like a partner's name or anything like that, that I'm going to regret next week.
No, because you end up with them down your arm and it's not attractive by the time you send it. Jodie, what would you have and wear?
For me, it would definitely be a globe of the world.
Okay.
So I love travelling. You know, I always like to go to new places, but where would I have it? Well, the world's a pretty big place, so it might need to be on my bottom.
Yes. Look, I'd cheat too, Lindsay. I'd have to have it in a place that people couldn't see. And I mean, I don't particularly like tats. I don't mind them on other people, but, you know, when you get to my age, your skin gets a bit not quite as resilient as it used to be. And I see saggy tattoos on people over 50 and I think, ooh, don't think so.
No, not advisable.
No, I don't think so. So the answer's no.
Okay. Now, I must ask this one. Your first kiss, Jodie.
Ooh.
Your first kiss.
Well, it was with a boy at primary school, and he gave me a little bracelet and wanted to be my boyfriend, and I said no. You know, we're too young to be doing that.
Gee, you're right.
Sensible,
So,
Jodie.
you
Even
know,
back then.
yes, I was. So I think I declined the kiss, but I said the bracelet's really nice. Could I keep it?
And did he let you?
Yes, he did.
David, your first kiss.
Well, can I separate them? I obviously had the primary school kiss, which really didn't, you know, it's not something I remember very well, but I'm sure it happened. It would have been with a girl. But because I got on very well with girls in primary school, and that was part of my gayness, I think, because, you know, they were my friends, they were my genuine friends, not someone I was kind of lusting after. Not that you lust in primary school, I guess. but yeah, so that was sort of my primary school days. But my gay life.
Gay kiss.
Yes, well. Do I have to tell this?
All right, we'll let you off the hook. Micah, it was probably like 3 minutes ago for you.
Last week. It was magical. Year 7, playing Spin the Bottle at a party.
Yeah. Was it a boy or a girl?
That was a girl.
Yeah.
And then boy would have been while playing Xbox with one of my with my very first boyfriend, and then I think I beat him, and then he had to kiss me or something like that.
Golly, I remember my first kiss. It was a peck on the cheek, and I don't know, I was in grade 4 or something like that. But the irony of this is that this guy ended up having a sex change when he was about 25, and then I should actually say now gender reassignment, and then went back to being a boy. And I don't know where he's at now, but hello, Kim, wherever you are. All right, one very, very, very quick one. Your strangest 2 a.m. snack, and in 5 words or less. I'll make it allowed 10. Strangest 2 a.m. snack, Micah.
Toast with peanut butter and mushed banana.
Oh, that's my favourite. That's my favourite. Jodie?
Oh, it would have to be Turkish bread with Vegemite and cheese and lettuce.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I can see that one. David?
Mine's not strange, it's chocolate.
Well, thank you all very, very much for coming along this evening and having a chat to us. Micah from Minus 18, if you could just give us website and contact details.
minus18.org.au.
And is there a feedback address or anything like that you'd like to?
Yeah, well, you know, all our contact details are there, but it's info@minus18.org.au if you want to contact us.
Beautiful. And Jodie from Travellers Aid, thank you very much, or Travellers Aid Australia.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for coming along. We hope to get you along one day soon.
Very good. And if
Okay.
anyone wants more information, travellersaid.org.au. We're at Flinders Street Station and Southern Cross Railway Stations.
Fantastic. And they're at 225 Burke Street, which is the same floor as Joy and the Also Foundation, David. And David, thank you so much for coming
That's all right.
in.
It's a pleasure.
It's been a treat, and all the best. And we'll be seeing you all next week on Alphabet Soup on Bank TV. So stay tuned, and it's good evening and good night.